Welcome back. Now, elections still in focus and it's voting day for UK citizens. According to a number of polls, Britain is poised for a significant political shift. That's as the Labour Party is expected to win the election, putting an end to the Conservative Party's 14-year reign. Now, this potential change in government could shift things, ushering in a new era of centre-left leadership and policy making. And joining me now with on-the-ground analysis in the UK is Professor for Strategic Management at the Warwick Business School, Christian Stadler. Thank you so much for your time, Christian. Now, you are joining us from the UK. It's election day. What has the mood been among the citizens there in the UK?
I'm joining from Bristol, which is what we call the West Country, about an hour and a half to the west of London. What's been the mood like? Well, at the moment, everyone is concentrated on the Euros, on the football, more so than the election, I would say. But for those who do follow, I think in essence, people have been frustrated at how the economy had gone over, well, quite a while now, but particularly, inflation hitting many households quite strongly. And as a consequence, there's been a call for change in the mood that maybe a new government has a better chance to get the house in order.
Well, it's quite interesting that you say that, really the focus on sentiment is how the economic climate is, shaped at this moment. But I'm wondering because, globally, we've had, a very, very difficult economic environment. And just looking at the elections that we've had in South Africa and also what we're seeing in France, there is a significant political shift there. And also, obviously, you cannot take the economy out of it. There's been huge uncertainty. Do you think that the sentiment, maybe the Conservative Party hasn't done enough to turn the economy around, that the UK and the Conservative Party is just a victim of what has been happening globally, or that citizens are solely focused on, party-specific initiatives that just have failed to turn the economy around?
So let's sort of, I guess, we can separate about what's the fault of the Conservatives and what is not. Because you're right, we see globally in most countries where there's elections, there's a change. And in some countries, that means a change to the left, in some to the right, depending on who was not in power. Now, in the UK, it was the Conservative Party that was in power. But there's two things, I think, where voters are seeing some problems with the Conservative Party in particular. So number one is that they started Brexit. They brought this sort of change to the UK that was substantial and is by most people seen as a mistake. The majority, at least, Now, that doesn't mean that there will be another vote, or people have the appetite for bringing up those pretty sort of poisonous atmosphere during the Brexit vote. So I think that's not the case. But nonetheless, people see this has not gone the way that the Conservative Party has promised them to do. And then in the subsequent years, they've just not been able to manage things very well. This probably the worst example was Liz Truss, very short-lived government that brought in this massive tax cuts, or proposed them, that really put the economy under serious constraint. At one point, it looked so bad that the pension obligations could not be met anymore. Now, people blame the Conservative Party for this. And I think that is something that is now not just a global phenomenon, but really homemade mistakes.
Yeah. It's quite interesting that you also bring in Liz Truss, because one of my questions was, is there still a Liz Truss overhang? And I guess you could say that there still a kind of is. Looking at the Labour Party and the Conservatives, would you say that there is a significant divergence in their policies, particularly economic?
Well, it remains to be seen how much wiggle room any government has, because it depends to a great extent what the economy is going to do. And as we had in the earlier conversation, there's only so much a government can do. I would say the general sentiment is that this will be, if it's a Labour government, a government that is maybe a little bit similar to what we've seen under Tony Blair. So one that does put the economy and economic growth front and center. It's one big pillar. The second big part is basic services that had been under constraint, partly because of the savings that were introduced during the austerity program after the financial crisis, where the Conservatives were already in power at the time, and that makes it difficult, particularly for people who are less affluent, to manage some of those impacts that the economy throws at them.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we've also been seeing the polls that are expecting the Labour Party to overtake the Conservatives. And I'm just wondering, in terms of leading to parliamentary seats, do we expect an outright majority here, or maybe some kind of a formation of a coalition government?
At the moment, it seems very likely, if we believe the polls. Consistently, Labour has been more than 20 points ahead. That translates into a massive majority. It's a first-past-the-poll system here in the UK, where you win a particular constituency and a seat in the House of Parliament. We expect a landslide for Labour, unless the polls are dramatically wrong. Hence, not likely that there will be a coalition government.
All right. As we wrap up the conversation, Christian, the election is taking place earlier than had been expected. Do you think that maybe Rishi Sunak here could have shot himself in the foot?
I'm not sure if waiting would have helped him in any way. The economic data was not too bad recently, and he was probably hoping that this will give him a boost, but it was not enough. Well, at least we expect it's not enough. Where we will know tonight, first exit polls around 10 UK time here.
We'll be asleep.
Most likely they will lose, and most likely waiting would have not helped much.
All right. Well, we will be digesting those results tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights there on the UK election that is currently taking place. That was Christian Stadler from the Warwick Business School.